The sound of grinding gears and a stalled engine cut through the serene morning air at Oakridge Park, causing Noah Iverson to wince as he juggled a coffee in one hand and his 7-year-old daughter's lunch box in the other. He'd risen at dawn to pack Emma's lunch, iron her school uniform, and still make it to his shift at the auto repair shop by 8. But the distressed sounds of someone clearly struggling with a manual transmission caught his attention. "Dad, that lady keeps making her car sick," Emma observed, her pigtails bouncing as she pointed toward an elegant silver Porsche 911 that had stalled yet again near the park entrance. Noah sighed, checking his watch. He really couldn't afford to be late to work again. Frank had already given him 2 warnings this month, but he recognized the desperate look on the driver's face all too well. It was the same expression he wore when trying to figure out how to pay both the electric bill and Emma's school fees in the same week. 5 minutes, Em. Then we really have to go, okay? He set down their belongings on a nearby bench and approached the luxury vehicle, trying not to think about how its value probably exceeded what he'd earn in 3 years. The window rolled down to reveal a woman with striking amber eyes and dark hair pulled into a professional bun. Despite her obvious frustration, she maintained a composed demeanor that seemed almost practiced. "Car trouble?" Noah asked, immediately regretting the obvious question. The woman's lips curved into a slight smile. "Is it that obvious? I've driven automatics my entire life, but this." She gestured at the gearshift. "This is apparently my new nemesis." "I'm Noah," he offered, noticing the absence of a wedding ring on her finger before mentally chastising himself for looking. "I fix cars for a living. Mind if I give you a quick tutorial, Jasmine?" "Jasmine Jacobson," she replied, extending a manicured hand through the window. "And I would be eternally grateful. I have an important meeting across town in an hour, and at this rate, I'll be lucky to make it out of this parking lot." Noah glanced back at Emma, who had pulled out a book and was reading contentedly on the bench. 15 minutes tops," he promised Jasmine. "Scoot over." As she slid to the passenger seat, he caught a whiff of something expensive, not perfume exactly, but the kind of scent that suggested luxury without announcing it. The interior of the car was immaculate, with butter-soft leather seats and a dashboard that looked like it belonged in a spacecraft. "Beautiful machine," Noah commented as he settled into the driver's seat that was still warm from her body. "Why the sudden switch to manual?" Jasmine tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, revealing a simple diamond stud. "My father passed away last month. This was his pride and joy, and I couldn't bear to sell it. Foolishly, I thought I could teach myself to drive it using YouTube videos." Noah's expression softened. "I'm sorry about your father," he gestured to the pedals. "Well, the good news is that a stick shift isn't rocket science. It's all about feeling the connection between the clutch and the gas." For the next 10 minutes, Noah patiently explained the basics of driving a manual transmission, demonstrating the smooth coordination between releasing the clutch and applying the gas. Jasmine watched intently, her focused expression suggesting she was someone accustomed to mastering new skills quickly. "Ready to try?" he asked, preparing to switch seats again. Jasmine nodded determinedly. "As ready as I'll ever be." As they exchanged places, Noah caught sight of Emma, who was now standing beside the bench, pointedly tapping her wrist where a watch would be if she wore one. "Just a couple more minutes, Em," he called out, then turned back to Jasmine. "My daughter," he explained. "I need to get her to school and then head to work, but let's get you comfortable with first gear before I go." "She's adorable," Jasmine remarked, glancing at Emma, "and clearly keeps you on schedule." "Someone has to," Noah laughed. "Okay, remember what I showed you. Clutch in fully, select first gear, slowly release the clutch while gently pressing the gas." Jasmine followed his instructions, her brow furrowed in concentration. The car jerked forward and stalled. "That's normal," Noah assured her. "Try again, but release the clutch even slower." On her third attempt, Jasmine successfully got the car moving, a triumphant smile breaking across her face. "I did it," she exclaimed, her professional veneer momentarily cracking to reveal genuine excitement. "You're a natural," Noah encouraged. "Practice in an empty parking lot before hitting busy streets." The feel of the clutch engagement point is different in every car. You'll get the hang of this one pretty quickly. Jasmine brought the car to a stop and turned to Noah with a grateful expression. You've been incredibly kind. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your morning to help a stranger. No problem at all, Noah replied, opening the passenger door. Good luck with your meeting. Wait, Jasmine called as he stepped out. She pulled a business card from her purse. If there's ever anything I can do to return the favor. Noah glanced at the card. Jacobson Enterprises was embossed in elegant silver lettering with Jasmine Jacobson, CEO, printed beneath. His eyebrows rose involuntarily. Thanks, he said, tucking the card into his pocket, suddenly acutely aware of his worn jeans and the coffee stain on his work shirt. Have a good day, Miss Jacobson. Jasmine, she corrected. And you too, Noah. As he walked away, Emma immediately bombarded him with questions. Who was that lady? Why was her car so shiny? Is she rich? Just someone who needed help, kiddo, Noah answered, collecting their belongings from the bench. And yes, I think she might be quite rich, but that doesn't matter. We help people because it's the right thing to do, not because of what they can give us in return, remember. Emma nodded solemnly, taking his hand as they walked to his old Ford pickup. Like when I helped Mrs. Garcia carry her groceries, and she didn't have any cookies to give me that time. Exactly like that, Noah agreed, lifting her into the booster seat. As he started the familiar rumble of his truck's engine, he glanced back at the silver Porsche, now smoothly pulling out of the parking lot. He thought about the business card in his pocket and shook his head slightly. Different worlds, he reminded himself, focusing on the day ahead and the pressing matter of convincing Frank to let him work an extra shift this weekend to cover Emma's upcoming dentist appointment. 3 days later, Noah was elbow-deep in a transmission rebuild when Frank called from the front desk. Iverson, customer asking for you specifically. Wiping his hands on a rag, Noah made his way to the reception area, mentally reviewing his current client list and wondering who might have requested him by name. His steps faltered when he spotted Jasmine Jacobson standing by the counter, dressed in a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. She looked different than she had in the park, more commanding, with an air of authority that made even Frank straighten his perpetually slouched posture. Miss Jacobson, Noah greeted her, suddenly conscious of the grease under his fingernails. Is the Porsche giving you trouble? A small smile played at her lips. Actually, I've been practicing in empty lots like you suggested. I can now get through all 6 gears without stalling, mostly. That's impressive progress, Noah said sincerely. What brings you to Riverside Auto? Jasmine glanced around the modest shop. I wanted to thank you properly for your help. I made it to my meeting on time, and we closed an important acquisition deal. She paused. I was wondering if you might consider becoming my personal driving instructor, just until I'm fully comfortable with the manual transmission. Noah blinked in surprise. I appreciate the offer, but I don't do private lessons. Besides, there are professional driving schools that I'd pay you twice your hourly rate here, she interrupted, then quickly added, I'm not trying to be presumptuous. It's just that you were so patient, and I felt comfortable learning from you. Frank, who had been pretending not to eavesdrop, gave Noah a not-so-subtle nudge. Iverson could rearrange his schedule, he interjected. He's our best mechanic, but we can manage without him for a few hours a week. Noah shot Frank an exasperated look before turning back to Jasmine. The thing is, I have my daughter every day after school. I'm a single dad, and my schedule is pretty tight between work and taking care of her. Something flickered in Jasmine's eyes, understanding, perhaps, or a reassessment. Of course, family comes first. She seemed to consider something for a moment. What if we scheduled lessons during times that work for you, maybe while your daughter is at school, or she could even come along if necessary? Noah hesitated. The extra money would certainly help with the growing pile of bills on his kitchen counter, and maybe even allow him to finally fix the leaky roof before winter set in. But something about the arrangement felt uncomfortable, like accepting charity from someone who clearly operated in a different stratosphere. Let me think about it, he finally said. I'd need to check my schedule and make sure it works with Emma's activities. Jasmine nodded, reaching into her purse for another business card. "My personal number is on the back," she said, handing it to him. "Let me know what you decide." After she left, Frank clapped Noah on the shoulder. "Are you insane? A loaded lady like that offering to pay you premium rates for driving lessons, and you're thinking about it?" Noah shrugged. "It's complicated." "It's only complicated because you're making it complicated," Frank retorted. "Look, take an extended lunch break tomorrow. Go pick up Emma from school, and then call Miss Moneybags and tell her you'll teach her to drive that fancy car." Later that evening, as Noah helped Emma with her math homework at their kitchen table, he found himself staring at Jasmine's business card. The apartment they shared was small but clean, with mismatched furniture collected over years and walls adorned with Emma's artwork. It wasn't much, but they made it home. "Dad, you're not helping," Emma complained, tapping her pencil against her workbook. "What's 7 times 8 again?" 56, Noah answered automatically, tucking the card away. "Sorry, pumpkin. Let's focus on these multiplication tables." After Emma was tucked in bed, Noah sat at the kitchen table with their budget spreadsheet open on his laptop. Between Emma's school fees, the recent increase in rent, and the unexpected cost of replacing the water heater last month, their savings had dwindled to almost nothing. The extra income from giving Jasmine driving lessons would provide a much-needed cushion. With a sigh, he pulled out his phone and typed a message. "This is Noah Iverson. I can help with the driving lessons. What days work for you?" The response came almost immediately. "Wonderful. How about Saturday morning at 9? We could start at Oakridge Park where we met." Noah hesitated. Saturdays were their father-daughter days, when he and Emma would make pancakes and spend the morning together before heading to the park or library. "I have my daughter on Saturdays," he texted back. "She's welcome to join us," came the reply. "The back seat of the Porsche is small but comfortable. I promise not to stall too many times and scare her." Noah found himself smiling despite his reservations. "Saturday at 9 it is. We'll meet you at Oakridge." When Saturday arrived, Emma was unusually excited about their altered morning plans. "Is she really a billionaire, Dad?" she asked as they drove to the park, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched in her arms. "I don't know about billionaire," Noah replied carefully. "She runs a big company, but we're not going to ask about her money, okay? That would be rude." "I know," Emma sighed dramatically. "You always say it's not polite to talk about money, politics, or why Uncle Terry has 3 ex-wives." Noah choked back a laugh. "That's right. Just be your usual awesome self and remember that, Miss Jacobson is my student today, not a new friend for you to interrogate." The silver Porsche was already waiting when they arrived, with Jasmine leaning against the hood, looking far more casual than Noah had seen her before. She wore jeans, a simple white blouse, and her hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders. She looked younger somehow and less intimidating. "Good morning," she called as they approached. "You must be Emma. Your dad has told me about you." Emma, suddenly shy, half hid behind Noah's leg. "Hi," she said quietly. "Emma," Noah prompted gently. "What do we say when we meet someone?" "It's nice to meet you, Miss Jacobson," Emma recited, stepping forward slightly. Jasmine smiled warmly. "It's nice to meet you too, Emma, and please call me Jasmine. I brought some snacks for our lesson today there in the car if you get hungry." Emma's eyes lit up at the mention of snacks, and Noah shot Jasmine a grateful look. He'd packed some apple slices and crackers, but Emma was in a perpetual state of hunger that his budget couldn't always satisfy. The next 2 hours passed surprisingly quickly. Noah sat in the passenger seat, giving instructions while Jasmine practiced starting, stopping, and shifting through the gears in the empty section of the park's parking lot. Emma contentedly read her book in the back seat, occasionally asking questions about the car or offering encouragement when Jasmine managed a particularly smooth gear change. "You're getting much better," Noah observed, as Jasmine successfully navigated a 3-point turn without stalling. "Ready to try some actual road driving next time?" "I think so," Jasmine agreed, though her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Though maybe not in downtown traffic just yet." As they finished the lesson, Emma's stomach growled audibly from the back seat. "Sounds like someone's ready for lunch," Noah said, checking his watch. "We should probably head out." Same time next Saturday, actually, Jasmine began, turning off the engine. I was hoping you might both join me for lunch. There's a great little cafe just down the street. Noah immediately tensed. That's kind of you, but we already have plans. It wasn't strictly true, but the thought of sitting across from Jasmine in a restaurant, probably unable to afford anything on the menu, made him uncomfortable. Emma, however, had other ideas. Please, Dad. I'm starving and she has a really cool car. Noah gave his daughter a look that clearly said, not helping, but Jasmine laughed. The cafe has the best grilled cheese sandwiches in town, she said. My treat as thanks for the lesson. Before Noah could formulate another polite refusal, Emma had already unbuckled her seatbelt and was halfway out of the car. I love grilled cheese, she announced. Jasmine met Noah's eyes over the roof of the car. Just lunch, she said softly. No strings attached. Something in her expression, a vulnerability he hadn't noticed before, made Noah reconsider. Just lunch, he agreed reluctantly. The cafe was indeed small and unpretentious, with checkered tablecloths and mismatched chairs. Noah relaxed slightly as he scanned the reasonably priced menu. This wasn't the upscale establishment he had feared. Emma, already coloring on the paper placemat with crayons provided by their server, seemed immediately at home. Can I have a chocolate milkshake with my grilled cheese? She asked hopefully. Sure, pumpkin, Noah agreed, figuring he could afford to splurge a little with the driving lesson money. This place is one of my favorite spots in town, Jasmine confessed as she sipped her iced tea. My father used to bring me here when I was about Emma's age. It hasn't changed a bit. You grew up in Riverside? Noah asked, surprised. He'd assumed she was from somewhere more cosmopolitan. Jasmine nodded. Born and raised until I left for college. I only moved back last year when my father's health started declining. As their food arrived, the conversation flowed more easily than Noah had anticipated. Jasmine asked Emma about school and seemed genuinely interested in her enthusiastic descriptions of her second-grade teacher and the class pet hamster. In turn, Emma peppered Jasmine with questions about her job and whether she had pets of her own. I have a cat named Professor, Jasmine told Emma, pulling out her phone to show a picture of a dignified orange tabby. He's very serious about his naps. We can't have pets in our apartment, Emma said with a sigh. Dad says maybe when we get a house someday. Noah shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The building doesn't allow them, he explained to Jasmine, and with our schedule, it wouldn't be fair to an animal anyway. Jasmine seemed to sense his discomfort and smoothly changed the subject. So, Noah, how did you learn to be such a good mechanic? The rest of lunch passed pleasantly, with Noah gradually letting down his guard as Jasmine proved to be an attentive listener and seemed genuinely interested in his journey from high school auto shop enthusiast to professional mechanic. He found himself sharing stories about rebuilding his first engine at 16 and his dreams of someday owning his own garage. When the check came, Noah reached for it automatically, but Jasmine was faster. Please, this is my thank you for today's lesson, she insisted. Noah wanted to object but reminded himself that he'd already agreed to this arrangement. Thank you, he said simply. As they walked back to their respective vehicles, Emma skipping ahead, Jasmine turned to Noah. I really enjoyed today, she said quietly. Not just the driving lesson, but getting to know you both a little better. Something in her tone made Noah look at her more carefully. The poised businesswoman he'd first met was still there, but he was beginning to see other facets, a warmth and sincerity that didn't fit with his preconceptions about wealthy executives. We did too, he admitted. See you next Saturday, Jasmine smiled. I'm looking forward to it. Over the next several weeks, their Saturday morning lessons became a fixture in Noah and Emma's routine. Jasmine progressed from parking lots to quiet residential streets to eventually navigating busy intersections with confidence. Each lesson was followed by lunch, which Noah initially insisted on paying for with his lesson earnings, but they eventually settled into a comfortable rotation. During one particularly challenging lesson involving parallel parking, Jasmine's frustration boiled over after her fifth unsuccessful attempt. I'm never going to get this, she exclaimed, resting her forehead against the steering wheel. Maybe I should just sell the car. Hey, Noah said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder before quickly withdrawing it. Everyone struggles with parallel parking. Try again, but this time don't overthink it. Feel the car. Emma piped up from the back seat. You can do it, Jasmine. Dad says I'm not allowed to give up when things are hard, so you're not allowed to either. Jasmine laughed, glancing at Emma in the rearview mirror. Your dad is very wise, isn't he? The wisest, Emma agreed solemnly. Except when he tries to help with my spelling homework. Spelling was never my strong suit, Noah admitted with a grin. Now, one more try. You've got this. Jasmine took a deep breath, put the car in reverse, and this time successfully maneuvered into the parking space with only minimal guidance from Noah. I did it. She exclaimed, her face lighting up with triumph. See, Noah said. Told you so. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them. Noah quickly looked away, reminding himself of the vast differences in their lives and circumstances. After their usual lunch, Jasmine hesitated before getting into her car. I was wondering, she began, uncharacteristically uncertain, if you and Emma might like to come to my house for dinner next weekend. I make a mean lasagna, and it gets a bit quiet there with just me and Professor. Noah's initial instinct was to refuse. Crossing the boundaries from driving instructor to dinner guest seemed like dangerous territory. But Emma, who had grown increasingly attached to Jasmine over the past weeks, immediately bounced with excitement. Can we, Dad, please? I want to meet Professor. Noah looked at his daughter's hopeful face and then at Jasmine's equally expectant expression. Okay, he conceded, but let me bring dessert at least. Jasmine's house turned out to be a surprise. Noah had expected a mansion, but instead, she lived in a modest Tudor-style home in one of Riverside's older neighborhoods. It was certainly larger than his apartment and beautifully maintained, but nothing like the ostentatious estate he had imagined. It was my parents' house, Jasmine explained as she welcomed them inside. After my father died, I couldn't bear to sell it. Too many memories. Emma immediately spotted Professor sunning himself on a window seat and approached cautiously after getting Jasmine's permission to pet him. The evening was unexpectedly comfortable. Jasmine's lasagna was indeed excellent, and the conversation flowed easily as they shared stories and laughed at Emma's animated accounts of her school adventures. After dinner, while Emma played with Professor in the living room, Noah helped Jasmine with the dishes despite her protests. You have a beautiful home, Noah said as he dried a plate. It feels lived in and loved. Thank you, Jasmine replied. It's too big for just me, but I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. She hesitated. Noah, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Your driving lessons have been great, but I think I've got the hang of it now. Noah nodded, feeling a strange disappointment. I noticed. You handled that four-way stop like a pro last week. You probably don't need me anymore. That's not what I meant, Jasmine said quickly. I was wondering if maybe we could still see each other, but not as instructor and student, just as friends. The word friends hung in the air between them, and Noah sensed there might be more to it than that. He had been fighting his growing attraction to Jasmine for weeks, telling himself it was impractical, impossible even. Jasmine, he began carefully, you're the CEO of a major corporation and I'm a mechanic who can barely make rent some months. Our worlds are completely different, are they? She challenged. We both love cars, we both value family. We both enjoy the same terrible action movies as we discovered last week. She took a step closer. I'm not interested in your bank account, Noah. I'm interested in you. Before he could respond, Emma bounded into the kitchen. Dad, Professor did the funniest thing with a ball of paper. You have to see. The moment broken, Noah followed his daughter to the living room, his thoughts in turmoil. As they prepared to leave later that evening, Emma gave Jasmine a tight hug. Thank you for dinner and for letting me play with Professor. He's the best cat ever. You're welcome anytime, Jasmine told her, returning the hug before straightening up to face Noah. Both of you. In the car on the way home, Emma was unusually quiet for several minutes before asking, Dad, do you like Jasmine? Like her? Noah nearly swerved off the road. What makes you ask that, Em? Because you look at her the way Tommy Wilson looks at Miss Peterson, our art teacher, all googly-eyed and stuff. Noah couldn't help but laugh. Googly-eyed, huh? Is that a scientific term? Dad, I'm serious, Emma persisted. Do you like her? Because I do. She's nice and she doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby and she makes you smile more. Noah considered his daughter's observations. It's complicated, pumpkin. Why? Because she's rich and we're not. Sometimes Emma's perceptiveness startled him. Partly that, yes. Emma rolled her eyes with all the dramatic flair a 7-year-old could muster. That's silly. Mom's boyfriend Roger has lots of money and he's still a big jerk. Noah nearly choked. Emma, that's not a nice thing to say. But it's true, she insisted. Money doesn't make people nice or not nice. You always tell me it's what's inside that counts. Out of the mouths of babes, Noah thought. You're right, he admitted. It's what's inside that matters. The following Saturday, instead of their usual driving lesson, Noah invited Jasmine to join them for their traditional father-daughter pancake breakfast at their apartment. He'd spent the previous evening cleaning frantically and worrying about what she would think of their small, somewhat shabby living space. But when Jasmine arrived, bearing a basket of fresh fruit to accompany their pancakes, she didn't seem to notice the worn furniture or the water stain on the ceiling from the leak he hadn't been able to fix yet. Instead, she immediately complimented Emma on her artwork displayed on the refrigerator and asked Noah for a tour as if she were visiting a stately home. This is nice, she said sincerely as they sat down to breakfast. Cozy and warm, it feels like a home. As Emma chattered happily about her plans to teach Jasmine their secret pancake recipe, Noah watched the woman across the table the way she listened intently to his daughter, the genuine smile that lit up her face, the absence of any pretense or judgment. And he realized that Emma had been right. What mattered wasn't their different financial circumstances, but the connection that had been growing between them over these past weeks. After breakfast, while Emma was showing Jasmine her collection of rocks in her bedroom, Noah's phone rang. It was his ex-wife, calling to say she could take Emma for the day if he had plans. It was an unusual offer she typically stuck strictly to their custody agreement, but Noah gratefully accepted. When Emma left with her mother an hour later, Noah and Jasmine found themselves alone in his apartment for the first time. I was thinking we could go for a drive, Jasmine suggested, but with me behind the wheel and you just enjoying the ride for once. I'd like that, Noah agreed. They drove along the coast, with Jasmine confidently handling the Porsche's manual transmission through winding roads. They stopped at a scenic overlook where the ocean stretched endlessly before them. Thank you, Jasmine said as they leaned against the car, shoulders almost touching. For what? You're the one driving now. For seeing me, she replied simply. Not Jasmine Jacobson, CEO, or Jasmine Jacobson, Edward Jacobson's daughter, just Jasmine, the woman who couldn't drive stick and who loves grilled cheese sandwiches. Noah turned to face her. And thank you for seeing me. Not just the struggling single dad or the mechanic, but me. I like what I see, she said softly. Very much. Noah closed the small distance between them, hesitating just a moment before gently cupping her face in his hands. I do too, he whispered before kissing her. The months that followed weren't without challenges. There were raised eyebrows when Jasmine arrived at company functions with Noah as her date, and some of Noah's friends made assumptions about his motives for dating a wealthy woman. But they faced each obstacle together, with Emma's enthusiastic support and an increasingly deep connection that made the external differences in their lives seem insignificant. 1 year after their first meeting in Oakridge Park, Noah proposed to Jasmine in the same spot, with Emma holding a sign that reads, "Say yes." Jasmine, who had orchestrated billion-dollar deals without flinching, burst into tears before saying yes. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony in Jasmine's backyard, with Emma proudly serving as both flower girl and ring bearer. As they exchanged vows, Noah reflected on the strange twist of fate that had brought them together: a stalled Porsche, a struggling dad who knew how to drive stick, and a billionaire who had steered her way into their hearts. At the reception, Frank from the auto shop raised his glass for a toast. To Noah and Jasmine, proof that sometimes the best journeys start with a breakdown. Later that evening, as they danced under strings of fairy lights, Jasmine whispered in Noah's ear, "I have a surprise for you." She led him and Emma to the driveway where a tarp covered something large. "I know you've always dreamed of opening your own garage someday," she said, gesturing for Emma to pull off the covering. Beneath it was a set of architectural plans and a model of a building with Iverson Automotive emblazoned on the front. "I bought the old Thompson property on Main Street," Jasmine explained. "The paperwork is in your name. It's your business, Noah, your dream." Noah stared at the model, overwhelmed. "Jasmine, I can't accept this. It's too much." "It's an investment in our future," she countered. "A wedding gift, if you prefer, but it's yours to build exactly as you want it." Emma bounced excitedly. "And guess what, Dad? There's an apartment upstairs where Professor can live with us sometimes." Noah looked from his daughter to his new wife, his heart full to bursting. He had spent so long struggling, fighting to provide for Emma, that accepting help even from someone who loved him felt foreign. But as he met Jasmine's eyes, he saw nothing but partnership reflected there. Not charity, not obligation, but a shared vision for their future together. "Thank you," he said finally, pulling both Jasmine and Emma into an embrace. "For everything." As the three of them stood together under the stars, Noah marveled at how his life had changed in just 1 year. From a struggling single father to a man with not just hope for the future, but the means to achieve his dreams and a partner to share them with. All because he'd stopped to help someone learn to drive stick. Emma wiggled between them. "See, Dad. I told you it didn't matter that she was rich and we weren't. What matters is that she makes really good lasagna and she loves us." Jasmine laughed, ruffling Emma's hair. "Out of the mouths of babes," she said, echoing Noah's thoughts from months earlier. "She gets her wisdom from her father," Jasmine added, leaning in to kiss Noah again. "And her directness from her stepmother," Noah replied with a smile, knowing that whatever roads lay ahead, they would navigate them together in perfect harmony, like a well-tuned engine shifting smoothly through the gears of life.